going on, guys? Let's give everyone a few seconds to come on before we start the presentation. Do some Q&A too. Get started shortly. Just give everyone a couple minutes here, guys. What's going on, Dana, Victor, Christopher, RPS, Israel, Nutra, Krishnan? How are you guys? What's going on? Thanks for coming on. Shane, how are we? What's going on? First live session, huh? Good for you. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Hopefully you learn a ton. Bring a pen and paper, pencil, whatever you guys have. Take notes on your phone. It should be a good session. Lots of good questions at the end too. I already saw some revved up. But hopefully the session in the beginning will be helpful as well. Just to navigate and stuff like that. We'll go through a lot of good topics today. You know, I don't have to. I love to take my time to help others. I don't have to do a full throttle hour and a half, 2 hour session. But this one's going to be probably about an hour and 20 minutes. Just people preparing from a time standpoint. So do be prepared for that long. Obviously, you could hop off whenever you want. These are recorded videos and we'll be able to replay. So do feel free. The Q&A will be at the end though. So if you guys have any good questions to ask or any topics you guys want to cover, that will be at the end. So I do highly recommend sitting throughout the session. Awesome. We'll give everyone about probably a minute or two here, guys. Sorry for the late start here. Already 80 viewers just launched up. So this is going to be a big session. A lot of social media. Our marketing team put this out. So I'm guessing we'll probably get a couple hundred users to live and then hopefully a couple thousand to see it as well. So just give everyone a few minutes to join and we will get started in today's session. I'll go through what we're going to walk through. Okay. Awesome. Get settled up here. It actually doesn't even say I'm live yet on, let's see. Okay. All right, got about 100 viewers. That we'll probably start here. People start to trickle on. Awesome. So let's get quickly started here. First of all, happy 2022. First video, first teaching, documentary, everything you want to talk about is going to be this for the first time this year. So it's going to be a very interesting year. Last year came off of obviously one of the largest, probably biggest gains of the year in probably the last couple decades, I'd probably say. It was pretty outrageous from an index perspective, from an equity perspective, everything. It was a crazy year. Definitely limiting my expectations this year for a couple reasons I'll talk through on the video. First off, if you're new joining the session, welcome. My name is Spud from Spud Zone. I have a huge Discord, about 18,000 users. Happen to be the most followed trader on Webull Global, over 53,000 followers. You can also follow me on StockTwits, a little over 23,000 followers there. Most known for my teaching concepts, coaching, and a bunch of other things throughout the years. I've turned about 15,000 to 2 million on one account challenge. We'll be starting a couple of fresh account challenges this year, as you guys probably know and are already probably starting to follow along. We have a 50K to 250K to 500K IRA challenge, as well as a 100K to 1 million trading profits from a day trade account perspective. So those are the account challenges I'm going to be focused on throughout this year. Obviously, last year was such a huge year, 7-figure profit trading year. So I'm going to be taking that obviously out and working with smaller size and trying to rebuild, especially in a challenging year with Fed hikes and things like that and all the other catalysts and outlying events that we have coming up. Could be a very choppy or volatile year. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to talk through a couple different topics today. I came through with 5 different topics. Going to try and cover maybe 10 minutes on each topic, maybe 8 minutes on each topic per se. I'm going to try and shoot for the entire presentation to be done in about 80 minutes or so, maybe 90 minutes with Q&A sort of outlasting some of the last 10, 20, 30 minutes of time. I'm very excited to sort of really hear some of the questions. I know a lot of folks have been waiting a couple weeks to ask some things, so I'm pretty excited for that aspect of the conference here. And then the second thing is, everything in this discussion is, my opinions alone. So, disclaimer here, I'm not a financial advisor, nor do I plan on being one. Everything in my trade idea is what I trade in real time, what I'm trading. Everything is for educational usage purposes. So, no one in the Spud Zone is actually a licensed broker. So, everything we do is what we're trading, what we're seeing, what we're analyzing in real time. So, happy to obviously learn and educate you guys. These are all from my opinions and perspectives, just so you guys know before I start the session. Awesome. You can check out the disclaimer more on Discord or in my bio, or etc. So let's jump into it. Topics of discussion for today. Just kind of going to talk through, I'm calling it a Spud Zone market sentiment. Really just kind of talk through where we are in the markets today, last couple of weeks, price action from an index perspective. I'm going to keep a high level index. It's going to talk through, we've seen some breakdowns, seen some sort of uncertainty, a little bit of a panic early on, down a couple percentage points on the global indexes, and it's already January, what are we at, 8th, 9th? So, it's definitely been a tricky start to the year already. People are already down more than they probably were down the entirety of last year. That's obviously for some uncertainty reasons, right? You have new outbreaks going on. You have Fed. You have a bunch of other stuff that I'll kind of jump into. We'll walk through some of the charts. Then a lot of folks have been asking questions about, what's price action? How do you analyze it? How do you determine it? From my perspective, every trader is going to have a different definition of price action. Everyone's going to have their own opinion about it. So I'm going to talk through really what price action means to me. It's going to be different to all of you on the line here today, as well as all the folks that other traders you may follow, or other professional folks that you guys follow. Price action is different for all those folks, but I'm going to talk through what price actions mean to me as a day trader, swing trader, long-term trader, etc. Third topic I'm going to walk through is like a daily chart breakout. So you guys are, sitting at home, whether you're at your job, bored at the desk, being like, I want to trade, whether you're trading full time at home, whether you're mobile on a train or airplane looking to make a quick trade for the day, or maybe a quick swing trade for a couple days or a week. I'm going to show you guys what I'm looking for from a daily chart perspective, and where are some good opportunities to maybe enter and then quickly take an exit position. So I'm going to walk through a couple different charts, probably about 2 charts on the daily chart breakouts, and that's more of like a analyzing and looking for like a quick, maybe couple day swing, or maybe a week swing, maybe a month swing, whatever it may be, right, from a daily chart perspective. But I'm looking at a couple pinpoints or a couple areas on the chart where I like to typically take positions. I'm going to talk through some of those tickers, whether that's small caps or large caps. It applies to both, and I'll walk through that as well. Excuse me. Fourth and fifth topic here is identifying intraday pre-breakout patterns. Perfect example I'm going to talk through is hour, right? Ran for about 70% from my alert on Friday. We're going to talk through that trade. We're going to go down. I'm going to hone in. I'm going to say where I alerted, where I was watching it. And there was tons of opportunity to enter that ticker name on Friday, and there was tons of opportunity to the upside. As you guys probably saw, it will be one of my top watches this week. The price action was absolutely gorgeous for a Friday. And I'm going to be talking through that trade as well. So that's going to be like an intraday. How do you determine what's going to break out intraday? That's a great example we saw. And then 5, a lot of folks have been asking about options. They're seeing the volatility in the markets. They do not know how to trade options. It's totally fine. Options is extremely high risk. So when I trade my options, it's very small size. I'm going to talk through 2 different types of options, and those are the 2 different types of options I play. You have the high risk, super crazy, volatile weekly expiration options, where those are like you're anticipating a big move both ways, up or down, and you're taking advantage of the volatility and sort of the expiration of that contract. And I'm going to talk through this all, so don't worry if you're scrambling to take notes. I'm going to talk through this. That's going to be the last section today. And then the other one is more of like a long-term approach to the options, where maybe you take a month or 2 out expiration, a couple months, maybe 6 months. If you're anticipating a market correction, you're buying 6 months out, just in case the correction doesn't come in the next couple months, right? You still have time on those options, right? Each option contract loses time and value by the day. So that's what an option, that's really the big outlying risk versus an option contract versus buying the actual shares or equity, or selling the actual shares or equity to the downside. So I'm going to walk through some of the options, sort of how that works, how I like to play options. Typically, it's just very much quick scalps for me, or I'm going to look to swing maybe a month or 2 out on contracts, which you guys have seen some pretty profitable alerts lately. We had DraftKings, that was a beauty. We had Hood, was a beauty the other day. What are some other ones? We added Coin. I'm down on Coin calls right now. But I think those could potentially come back. I'll talk through why, and that will be, you'll see some of the chart. So, I take positions on contracts based on the same way I would if I was doing a swing trade or a share, buying shares straight up. I want to get the best possible entry, right, on Wall Street, or I want to get the best possible entry out of all the traders and investors out there. That's my number one goal. I want to be in better entries before everyone else. And it's very challenging to do, but if you're patient, whether that's an intraday gap or whether that's a beaten down stock like Peloton or DraftKings, if you are patient, you can get better entries than probably 90% of the folks out there. But that's where you want to target. That's where you want to be getting into those names, better entries than all of those other folks, whether it's retail or index funds or mutual funds or investment shots or hedge funds, whatever it may be, right? That's really the goal for me as a trader at the end of the day. How do I get a better position than a lot of other folks out there? And so that's how I sort of treat it in the option perspective, as well as like long swing trades. So I'm going to walk through a lot of that stuff. So I just kind of ran through that pretty quick, but those are going to be the 5 topics of discussion today, okay? First one is going to be about 2 or 3 minutes, is really just market sentiment, right? We saw the Fed potentially have higher rate hikes in 2022. That's no surprise. If you've been following me, or if you've been following the media, or following just any type of folks that are in finance, we all knew that potentially there could be rate hikes this year. Now, how many is the big underlying question? Is it going to come fast, or is it going to be a slow rate hike? It's going to be difficult to say. We're going to probably hear more from the Fed in the next couple months. March and April are going to be a very key pivot point to the markets, in my opinion, on how fast, we've already doubled the taper, how fast these rate hikes are going to come, right? So we have that outlying. We have the index is already down 3 to 5%, specifically the QQQ, off all-time highs, and that's only on the 9th of January. A lot of folks are anticipating a 10% correction year. We only had a 5% drawdown last year. So that 10% is definitely overdue, and 10%, don't be scared, that's a very healthy correction. Typically in the markets every year, there's an 8 to 12% correction, every 12 to 18 months. So it's very healthy. The market sort of digests, switches money around, goes from tech to value to growth to tech to value to growth. A lot of swip swap. It's very healthy. If we start to get into 15, 20, 25% sort of correction mode, that would be sort of I would be a little nervous there. That would be more of a bear drawdown. We get in that 15 plus correction mode, then I start to probably a little bit worry. I start to be a little bit more bearish on the markets. If we hover around that 8 to 12% mode, that's pretty healthy on the year. So if we get that correction, I'm going to probably be a buyer. If we go down more, I'll probably sell out and sit cash and watch things through. But as I've always said, I want to buy when there's dips. I want to buy when there's high panic. When there's panic in the marketplace, I'm sure you've heard it from Warren Buffett. You've seen a zillion quotes on it. That's the time to buy, right? If you bought the March 2020 COVID dip, you would have doubled your money in 2.5 years. It's not anything crazy. It's literally just facts. If you look at the chart, if you bought anything really, you almost doubled your money up on that drop. Any index or any large cap name, a lot of those large cap names are up hundreds of percentages. So there's tons of opportunity on the downside. You just have to. As a trader, right, it's very challenging. That's why it's hard to find the right spot to get in. As a long-term investor, it's obviously different. You could scale in at different opportunities, right, at different certain, technical levels or, whatever fundamentals for a company, whatever it may be, right? So that's sort of the market sentiment, where we are. It's going to be volatile. I've been saying from day one this year, this is my opinion, I think this year is going to be a trader's year. What I mean by a trader's year is I think it's going to be a trader's year because there's going to be a lot of volatility this year, more so than last year. VIX is at an all-time low. We've started to see some spikes in the last couple sessions. A little baby couple spikes, but I anticipate there's going to be a lot of green, a lot of red, and there's going to be a lot of up and down. And for traders, that's where we're going to make our money, because we make money on volatility. I thrive in volatile environments. I'll play the bull and go to the moon with Elon Musk, or I'll play the bear and I'll short everything. I'll short everything to zero. Obviously, it's a mindset, right? It's a joke. We go to the moon or zero. So I'm going to play both sides of the market, whichever way we're going. If we're selling, I'm going to hop on the bandwagon selling. If we're buying, I'm going to hop on the bandwagon buying. I'm going to follow the big money. I always follow the big money. That's how you can predefine, and that leads us into the next topic of price action. Now let's talk through price action. I have a bunch of chart examples. We're going to walk through price action. I want to talk through the first thing of what price action actually means to me. Let's go through price action. Let's talk through the ticker hour. Friday, brand new IPO. You check the float. I say, look, I can't even see that. It's a daily chart. You check the float. Got about 1.5 million shares. Real company. Amazon reselling. They do legit revenue. They opened up, I think, at $4.50. I didn't even know that they were IPOing that day. I was fully unprepared in this name, but it's fine. I saw it pop up on Scanner. And I'm going to walk through sort of what price action means to me, okay? And there's a really big key significant piece in this tape. I call this the tape. This is the tape for Friday, right? Tape, like you're watching a movie, right? You're watching it from minute 1 to 2 hours long. What happens in the movie, right? I call that the tape. This is the tape of ticker hour. IPO was fresh. I guess there was some anticipation around it. Wasn't much volume out of the gates. And then what ticked me, there was actually a big seller here out of the gates. And we went down a little bit from, I'm like, oh, maybe it's just sort of a pop, I call it the pop, lock, and drop it. Pop, lock, and drop it IPO. I thought it maybe, and then maybe we just downtrend back into the threes. And maybe it closes plus 10% on the day, right? No. Quite the opposite we had here. We had a big seller here. I'm like, okay, not entering. Then I saw this. Just monster block move here. I'm going to walk through a 3-minute because I think 3-minute actually tells better. So what I mean by price action, guys, is price action to me is, does the tape look heavy? Are we seeing lower and lower lows and breakdowns throughout the day or a week or a monthly chart, right? That's price action, right? If you go look at Moderna, we'll show a negative one after this, like what negative price action looks like, right? What does positive price action look like? For this example, it's higher and higher lows where volumes maybe either staying the same or slowly building up. It almost looks like accumulation. That's the best word I can use for it, accumulation, right? Where maybe the indexes go down. I'll show another example after this, Ford. We're going to walk through Moderna and Ford next. 3 different types of examples here on price action. Let's talk through this. This hit scanner here, 3-minute chart, right? Bring it all the way through, right in here. So we had a nice little candle, okay, out of the gates. There's some volatility, always out of the gates, up 2, down 2, whatever. Then I saw big, about 1 million shares here. Come right in. I saw some bidding on level 2. I saw some buy. I was like, ooh, this might have a next leg. So I bought in here about 530, 540 entry. Went small, 10,000 shares. Went small, ripped up. Then we got a nice, I think it was a halt up here. Where do we halt? I think we halted right in here, which is the level. Yeah, we halted. Then it popped 13% pre-halt. And I'm like, whoa, this thing's strong. I sold for scalp 1 right in here for about 10,000 profits or 8,000 profits right in there because I saw a big red candle and I thought maybe it would halt in the low 7s. It would open in low 7s, and it didn't. I saw bidding in the 8s. That's just how it opened up. There was more selling on that candle. So maybe the buys that got in here didn't like the halt. Maybe they sold here for quick profits. This then dipped down to 6, and I saw it hold 6 on the next 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, about 20 minutes or so. It held 6. So I'm like, okay, that wasn't a pop and drop, right? It held. So I see it holding all this time. No one's selling now. So I'm like, okay, guys, what does that mean from a price action standpoint? We now have a higher base level of 6. So all the buyers under here are now watching, no one's selling really, and we have new buyers coming in for the stronger support. We have a new level here. Excuse me, let me take off some of my indicators so it's just very easy and simple to watch, right? We now have a base. See these candles? These are all baseline. Now, if the candles start trickling down, a big red flush here to like 480 or 5, that's bearish price action, right? That's bearish price action. But no, we held all day. Another scalp opportunity. I said, watch. I alerted again. I said, holding strong again. You might see a push to 7 or 8s here. Now we're sitting at low 6s, right? Boom. We got another 10%. Boom. We get another 3, 5, 3. That's now 15, 18% move. Then we even see it immediately. We see a move all the way to 9 from 6. That's about a 40 to 50% move there, right? So when I see that, that's extremely bullish. And then obviously we see a liquidity flush here. Profit taking. Why would there not be profit taking, right? That's a huge run. That's 50% in about an hour or 2 hours of time, right? All this build up, squeeze candle, sell, right? But still, that selling candle compared to the green volume candle is not, it's only half, right? So that's still strong. Now, guess what? This thing wasn't done. I thought maybe, okay, sell, buy the dip, quick scalp. Nope, then sell, maybe a breakdown, flush under VWAP, back down as low 6s throughout the day. If you saw my alerts in the Discord, and if you're not subscribed to Discord, you highly recommend it. You can see the link in the bio. My tech team is talking to users right now in the comment section. You can check out the Discord there after the session. But we saw maybe I said, okay, maybe we get a flush down to this wick. See this bottom wick here? This bottom wick in here, 660 is where I wanted to scalp number 3. That's what I said all day. I said, I want a flush. I want a nice liquidity flush, maybe a wash out of 660 from the 7s and 8s. I never got it because this thing had strong price action, right? Topic number 2, price action. Now, what we're seeing, guys, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 35, 45, almost an hour, Every time it dipped, someone bought it. Every time it dipped, someone bought it. Every time it dipped, someone bought it, right? This whole dip, everything was holding 750, right? So now support was at 6. We bought at 540. Now support's at 6, right? Now support's at 7. That's 12% higher. That is strong accumulation and price action. So what happens if we see strong price action here? I then said, we're in the 7s or 8s now, right? Second price target hit for 40%. Guess what? I don't think it's done. I then alerted, we might see 9s or 10s on this one. Price action looks pretty strong. Cut it if it breaks under 7. Guess what? It never broke under 7. We then see the push in the afternoon, 4%, 8%. Okay, minus down. Now we're about 6-7%. Another one. Now we're at plus 10%, and we have plus 2%. But that wick hit a 950 wick to all time, right? To the highs of the day. So then what do traders do? They load the consolidation candle, and they sell the wick into HOD for a quick 10-15%. Oh, beautiful, beautiful post-consolidation to higher legs, right? We have a rip, consolidate, rip, right? Profit taking, consolidate. We then see a breakdown, or we see a rip to new highs. Bam, we get the rip to new highs all the way up into $10, right? Then we see sort of, Friday end of day, we start to see some selling, people taking some profits. Notice how these candles aren't millions of shares though. There's not millions of shares being dumped. It is a 1.5 million float. It's just a couple 100,000, just a little profit taking. I mean, yeah, it's some volume there, right? 4 big candles in a row for about 12%. Right? And then in after hours, it held strong. There was no dump back down in the mid 6s, right? It held at 8, right at 8. So there's a ton of shorts, I'm sure, on this name up in this area. So if we see a breakout 10s, 11s, I'm going to say look for 12, 13s because now we're seeing higher and higher supports. So we'll see next week, will we get price action, maybe another day or two run on this name. If it starts to break down the 6s and the 5s, then, you go bearish. I won't play it, right? I'm going to day trade this. I'm going to look to probably make a couple plays on this next week. If the price action's bearish, I'll stay away. If it's bullish, I know we could probably see higher. So hopefully people are starting to understand, okay, this is what Spud means when he's like good price action. Higher and higher lows. Post-consolidation rips for new HOD breakouts. HOD is high of the day. Consolidation means a ticker, stock, or contract is staying at that particular level for a certain period of time. That's what consolidation means, right? HOD is an HOD break. We saw the break. HOD break, people played into the break, right? They sell the spikes. So this is what I mean by price action, right? So that's an intraday price action. Now let's go to an example of Moderna. Let's look at like what a long-term price action may look like, right? So let's go to the daily chart of Moderna, right? Why did I alert a monster short and put position at 350? Why? It's not magical. I didn't close my eyes and guess a number. About a month and a half ago, almost 2 months ago. I didn't close. Oh, actually, no, it's less than a month ago. This thing was at 350 less than a month ago. Why, right? The major selling on November the 3rd of 2021, that's when the downtrend started. If anyone can recall, we played those puts. It was a crazy day. It reminds me of what just happened on Rivian the other day. Like a 30% drawdown in 2 sessions, like absolutely crazy on the liquidity washout. I mean, look at this candle here. It's just bigger than like all the candles combined, buying and selling, right? So, we saw flushes here from the 350 mark. 350, couldn't break, right? Moderna couldn't break again. So now we know there is heavy selling, heavy shorts, whatever you want to call it. There's heavy selling at 350, right? $350 a share. This is what bearish price action looks like. It's for those that are trying to swing trade, for those that are trying to day trade. If you start to see some of these sort of technicals, I run for the hills. I take my loss quickly. I move on to the next trade because I'm more likely to see more downside. Right, so we see a bearish totally flush down in November. Then we slowly see the trickle back up. Then the Omicron comes around. Everyone starts buying. We see a 20% move, right? Then we see another 11% move. And then on this 11% move, I alert a short. Right here in the 350, 360s, 370s, I alert a short, a long short, like multi-month contracts on the put side. And all of a sudden, next day, 4%, 11%, 2%. Right now, we're just seeing downtrend. 13%. So now we're seeing selling, right? That's then the first level of support, the 250 mark. Once 250 broke in here, 230s is the next support, right? Where did this bounce from in the beginning? 220s, 230s. So that's now support, right? Now what happened, guys? We're under the 200-day moving average. We're below where all this support built up in here for about a 5-6 days level. And now we're below it. Now where's the next support? I can't even tell you. Let's look at the weekly chart. We're below support level trends. I even had an old picture on this. I already have the old picture. Next level, we see 195 with a big support at 142 and another big support at 120. Not saying it's going to crash another 50% from here, but I'm just showing you from a technical perspective where buyers, took positions in 2020, 2 years ago. That's where this ticker may be headed long term. Now, do we slowly start to consolidate, maybe push back to 260? Maybe. I don't know. But we've seen a dump, a rip, a dump, a retest, dump, retest off the rip. That is bearish price action. Anytime you get a push back and it gets slammed, right? Then they try it again and it gets slammed. That just shows me, okay, we're seeing lower highs, right? Lower highs, and higher and lower lows, right? That's not good price action, right? Have you seen a big green candle in the last month or two? No, I haven't. I've seen 3 big green red ones though. So that to me is bearish price action. And I hope this sort of helps, right? From what a lot of my members, my students, a lot of my followers, they ask, what does price action mean? This is what I mean by price action. That could be from a daily perspective. That could be a weekly chart. That could be a 2-minute chart. That could be a 1-minute chart. It could be an hour chart. It doesn't matter. That's my definition of price action, right? Higher and higher lows. If I'm seeing staircase up, now let me show you a bullish large cap price action. Freeport. Let's go to the Freeport chart, right? What does a bullish intraday large cap price action look like? Let me show you. Here's Friday, right? Let's go to Friday. Sorry, this is the weekly chart. I'm like, oh, but actually that's a good point. So let me show you the weekly chart. That's a really good point. From Moderna, we saw the weekly down chart. How about we look at the weekly up chart? Higher lows, tick, 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 rip. Tick, 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 rip. Tick, 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 rip. Breakdown. Consolidate, rip. Rip, rip, rip. Consolidate, rip. Consolidate, rip. Nope, downtrend. Then we come back. Rip, 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 right? Consolidate, rip to new highs, right? So that would be a full-on uptrend on a big picture. From 2020 all the way to June of 2021, we moved from $4 all the way to 46, right? So that's a huge uptrend, right? Now let's look at the 5-minute chart on this name. Let's just look at Friday. This is what I would show very bullish price action, right? You see a major buyer here at 1240. Look at that candle. Almost 1 million shares here. That's 10x the volume all day. It's the volume. That one candle is the volume of the entirety of basically this day, the last 3 hours, right? So we see 9:30 bell, right? I just want to show you guys 9:30 bell. We see dumps. We see selling. The market kind of went red, right? A lot of selling. Maybe some shorts in here, some selling, cool, some shorts, some selling. Then we see, okay, boom. All of a sudden we see a rip. What happens? We get over the 9:30 bell close, which is 41.40. That would be, I wasn't watching this then. That is where I would take a position. When I see the HOD break for the day, 41.50, that is where I'd enter, right on the top of this candle. People are like, Spud, why would you enter the high of the day? Why? Because it broke resistance and anyone shorting on the day is now in the red. This may could see a move higher. Guess what? 41.50 to 42. Everyone's probably saying, Spud, that's like a 1% move. Maybe a 2% move there. Maybe 3% from the 41.50. Guess what? On an options day on Friday, that's like a 200, 300% move on contracts. That's a big move, right? Probably 100 to 200% on contracts. That's a big move. So you can maybe scalp that quickly on the call side, which I'm going to talk to the options later. So that would be a bullish intraday price action. Does that make sense? If you have any questions on this topic, price action, save them for the end of the session, and we're going to talk through sort of the next couple topics now. But if you don't have any questions, we went through Moderna, FCX, and Hour. Hour is a small cap play. FCX, Moderna are 2 large cap plays, okay? So study that. What looks bullish, what looks bearish, right? You can see it. It's staircases down or staircases up. Now you can always look at the 5-minute. You could always look at the 15-minute, right? 15-minute. And guess what? If you're starting to see a lot of green candles stack up in a row, like I like to look at this. If I see like 5 green candles, then 1 red, then 5 green, then 1 red, then 5 green, then 1 red. That's called great price action and accumulation. There's not much selling. There's a lot of buying. So what buying perspectives are looking at, there could be another move in this stock, whether that's an intraday move, whether that's a weekly move, whether that's a monthly move, whether that's a yearly move. No one knows. But from the price action at that given moment in time and history, that is building up into a move up or building a move up, building a move down, right? So that is what price action to me is, okay? So hopefully these are great examples. Hopefully these help. I see almost 200 folks live on the feed. This is great. Seeing a ton of good comments already. This is great. But that's price action, okay? Let's go to the next topic of discussion. We've already been through the first two. Daily chart breakouts and swing trading, okay? I never like to really buy the highs on a daily chart. And I'm going to talk through about 3 examples here very quickly. How to identify a daily chart pre-breakout. Let's go to Ford Motor. And this, I'm going to come back to price action. This has been one of the strongest price action tickers, and I've tried to even short this with puts a couple of days for some lottos, and it doesn't work out because the price action is just too strong. There's too much buying, there's too much accumulation on dips, and I keep thinking it's going to go down in the markets, and it's barely down on big red market days. And to me, that shows strong price action. It's not moving down on big red flushes on the indexes. So that means it's just not moving down. There's no selling. And it's tons of volume, tons of algos, and there's just no selling. But let's look at the monthly chart of Ford, right? We saw this back in 2020, hit $3, now at $24. Now look at this chart. We have resistance at 14, resistance at 14, resistance at 14, right? Resistance at 14, gets slammed again at 14. About 5 times this has got rejected since 2003. This has got rejected 5 times at the 14 handle, 15, 16 handle. That area has been heavy resistance for Ford Motors, right? So now we fast forward 16 years later, we break out of the 16 mark, right? So once it broke 16, I know people are like, holy shit, Spud's looking back all the way to like 2001. But guess what? On a large cap name, you can anticipate a larger scale move if there's resistance breaking from years and decades ago, right? We see the break over here where there was heavy resistance, right? Where there could be millions and millions of shares short from there. We don't know, right? There doesn't have a big short interest on this name though. So, well, maybe it does now, but it didn't when it broke the 16s. There was tons of heavy buying pressure. And you could even see it in the build up here from March all the way to November. We've seen just big green candles, right? This is a monthly chart. So we saw the breakout, right? Now I want to show you guys the daily chart because this is how you identify a potential daily chart breakout, right? Let's look. What are you guys seeing, right? I know it's a little lagged on the delay. Let's look at November. Look at this consolidation. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Big move, 5%, then down. Consolidate, big move. Down, consolidate. A month of consolidation in here, right? No one's selling. There's no downside move to 17s. We're consolidating 19, 20. What happens? Let me show you guys because this is really important. We go to the weekly chart. Where's the other resistance, right? Guess what? Here's the resistance. 21-ish, right? So for me as a trader, if I see 21 break with volume, I'm going, whoa. That's a new high, new 52-week high. That's a new weekly high, multi-year high, decade high. Okay, there's more upside to this name, guys. It broke 21. New traders hop in. You've now seen a 17% move from the 21 break. So a lot of people say, oh my God, I'm buying at all-time highs or I'm buying at such a high. But it's sometimes not about how high it is. It's about price action. It comes back to price action, right? So Ford, we look at, right, the daily chart of Ford, right? We saw the break, the consolidation, the dump. Then we broke out to new highs. We broke past the 21. And after we broke 21, look at the next day. The next day was 11% move, 2% profit taking, then 3%. So you're up 15% in 3 days if you bought the 52-week high break, right? So it's super important to see the price action. So that's one style of trading that I like to do. I like to break large cap 52-week highs. You can always get another maybe 5, 10%. That trade works for me about 8 out of 10 times. I like to play the statistics and consistency on those pre 52-week highs, pre-HOD, whatever you want to say, breakouts. Okay? So that was the breakout. Once it broke over 21.4, we saw the move. Now we have a double top at 25. Will it sit around here, maybe make a move down like Tesla just did back to 22? It might. But guess what? Maybe 21 becomes the new support. Maybe it moves back down to 21 and becomes a new support. I don't know. But if it has a new support at 21, we might see it then move to 28, 30, right? So I just go by price action, okay, guys? So that's a great example of a great price action. Now let's go to an IBM. IBM and Coin are my next two for daily chart swings, right? I alerted IBM right around in here. What a freaking tear has this stock been on? I alerted in the long swing channel, the 9 to 5 workers. I alerted for my IRA pickup. I alerted for long-term pickup. I alerted for multi-year pickup. I alerted for multi-week pickup. I alerted heavy in here. Why? Why did I alert heavy buy down in here when there was a lot of selling pressure in November? IBM has a 4 to 5% dividend yield, which means if you were to buy IBM stock, you get 5% from a dividend yield per year. Whatever the stock does, you still get a 5% on whatever value you're putting into the company. They have so much cash. They've had so much cash for 80 to 100 years now. They have a very big dividend they pay out investors. It's a very big highlight, green opportunity for investors to join. We've seen a big drawdown the last probably 6 to 12 months. It was at 146. Why did I like the 114 zones? Because if you look at the weekly chart, back in here, 2020, we had a drawdown to about the 110, 114s, which is where we saw this get to. So we have a double, triple bottom. It's recovered nicely. I actually thought IBM may test 90, and that's where I wanted to get in there. I really wanted to get in at like 2019 lows. If you look at the weekly chart of IBM, it's kind of just been flat for about 7 years now. It's had a double, triple bottom at around $100. $100, bottom, bounce, bottom, bounce, bottom, bounce. So there's a lot of buying supply at around 100, right? So I wanted to take starter at 114, and it actually bounced between 114 and 117. It's already at 134, right? Now that's already a 10 to 12% pickup if you bought the stock at those levels. That would be a daily chart pre-breakout for me. Many would be like, Spud, isn't that considered a downtrend? I don't consider it a downtrend unless it were to break out a 90, and then we start to see lower into the 80s, 70s, sort of like we saw with Alibaba when it broke like 150, right? We saw all the way down to 110, another 30% drawdown, right? So this is what I mean by like a daily chart, sort of pick up from a swing perspective. A lot of folks are swing traders. That would be an area, right, to potentially add. But then nonetheless, in a high rate environment, people want safer value trades. They don't want to be buying the high growth, high multiple names that may not turn profits or may have trouble raising cash, etc. All these risks, right? They want to buy a company with freaking solid cash flow. So maybe with a dividend yield, maybe gold, copper. They want to buy those names where they can get those yields. You can buy IBM and get a 5% dividend yield. If the stock makes money and has good 4 quarters of earnings growth this year, or if they don't and the stock stays flat, you still make 5% on the year with that name. That's basically netting your entire year in the indexes, the average index income, the average index sort of yield per year. The last 80 years, I think is like 6 to 8%, 6 to 10% on the S&P. So that's like a couple percentages lower just by holding IBM throughout the year, right? So you get that yield. So a lot, as you've seen, investors the last 2 or 3 weeks, look at the buying. Comes back to price action. Look at this. It's up like a percentage each day. I mean, we've just been going up. Big money has just been saying, this is a safer play for me. You've seen it. It's showing. It's in front of our faces. 20 days of build-up green candles. It's in front of our stairway to heaven right here. We've seen it. It's in front of our faces. There's no arguing that, right? So that's bullish price action. And why was the 114 a key spot? Because that's 2016 support levels. That's 2018 support levels. That's 2020 support levels, right? Don't just look back from an hourly perspective. Don't look back from 15 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, 2 hour, 4 hours. Look at the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly charts on some of these big names. These are large cap names. A lot of folks here obviously small, trade small caps. It's the same thing though in small caps. Everyone has such a short horizon on things, but sometimes it's hard to, look past the bigger picture on a big move up or big move down, right? And it's very vital as a trader to see where profit taking may occur or where buying may take place. And so we saw the buying slowly start at 118, 120. Now, is this stock going to break out past 143 and go, whoa, let's move to 152? I don't know. We'll get to 143 and then get rejected back down the 130s? It might. Will it get rejected here and maybe we'll go back down to 123? It might. But these are the demand zones as of now, 114 to 116. So if you get a market correction, this drops another 10%. That could be your area of buying, right? So that's just how I'm looking at, sort of these names. That's the daily chart sort of pre-breakout. That's a swing trade perspective. That was all from swing trading. Hopefully that's helpful, right? Last 2 sections here. Then we're going to jump into Q&A. Identifying intraday pre-breakout patterns. We sort of already covered it with hour. And I think I already covered it, but I'm just going to walk through it again. This is a small cap pre-breakout intraday. And these are my bread and butter trades. Pre-breakouts, selling into strength. What I preach to my students, what I coach, what I preach to everyone, whether it's in server, whether you're a free follower following me on different social media channels, I always preach you want to sell into strength and you want to buy into weakness. That is how I trade. Those are all my day trading 101s. It comes down to that. Buying panic on a good, strong price action name, selling into greed, buying the fear, right? That is how I want to do it. We see the strong price action. I take a small position. I sell the first 15, 20% spike in less than 10 minutes time. Great trade. First scalp, 10, 20%, right? Great. I missed the upside growth here. I missed it. I missed that scalp. Then I got a little piece of the action after I saw it consolidate for a while. Sold another 8, 10% move, right? So that's an intraday breakout, right? We see the consolidation. We see the move. We already went over this. Just want to show you again. That is how you're identifying a pre-breakout potential, right? Volume starts out low. Big red. Ooh, I don't know. Maybe we have a downtrend. Then we see a higher green than the red. Okay, there's more buyers in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Then we see a higher red. Okay, there's something tricky there. Oh, then we see a way bigger green. Okay, we're seeing more buyers and sellers here. We might see a move. 20 minutes later, there you go. 10, 20, 27, 37. You get your 40% move, right? Right? Excuse me, I'm like losing breath here. I mean, losing my voice. Excuse me. One second. Okay. So that's how you predefine that's how you predefine like an intraday pre-breakout, right? We've done the swing trading. We've looked at the daily, the weekly charts. I'm hoping this is helpful. Everyone taking notes, right? This is super helpful. Whether you're investing long-term, whether you're swing trading at work, whether you're day scalping on your mobile device, heading to work on the subway or driving your car, like it applies to everything. The more knowledge you have on the technical side of things from a chart perspective, everything else, honestly, guys, comes easier. Sometimes I can just feel the price action through the screens. I can feel it. I can feel the accumulation taking place. I can feel the selling taking place. You saw my Rivian puts idea. They ran for 800% in one day last week. I felt the selling through the monitors. It was millions of shares being just sold to the downside at ask. I'm like, oh my God, these puts should just keep going. Raise the stop loss, raise the stop loss. I mean, the thing went down 16% in like 20, 30 minutes and then got completely bought up. But you can feel the price action, right? You can feel this. Let me show you what I mean, guys. Right? And then we're going to talk through options for the last 10 minutes here. Like, let me show you what I meant by like this selling, right? Let's go to 5-minute chart all the way what happened. I think it was Thursday or Wednesday. And I alerted an overnight on Rivian puts. They ran 800%. Look at this. Look at this, guys. This is what I mean by like bearish intraday price action, right? 9:30 bell, 800 million shares come through, buying the dip with half the value, right? And then all of a sudden, 1%, 4%, we're at 5-6% drawdown. Another candle, you feel it, another million shares. Oh my God, we're at 6-7%. Oh my God, now we're at 9% drawdown in 15 minutes. We're down 9% in 15 minutes. You can feel the selling, guys. This thing's not quickly gonna go after 3 huge blocks selling is gonna just randomly rip back up to 95 from like 88. No, that's heavy selling going on. You're more likely to see a bigger downside quick, another couple of downside candles before you see a major upside candle. And it's not gonna be a quick upside candle. It's probably gonna be a slow accumulation, which we then slowly saw. Maybe this is some shorts covering 25% gains in 2 days, maybe, right? Millions of shares, then boom. 1.8 million shares get sold. Oh my God, that's another 3% drawdown. Now we're having 3 million shares sold. That's double the selling on just the last candle alone. Look at the selling. The red candles are larger. They're getting larger. Now you know there's more selling. Then we see the final selling, 4 million shares drawdown in 5 minutes. This is a 16% move on 6 candles. That's 30 minutes. 30 minutes, 16%. That is very, very bearish intraday price action, right? So that's why I alerted puts. Right when I saw this candle out of the gates, I said, high risk, 95 or 90 puts. And boom, they ran 800% at peak down in here. A lot of folks sold in this area. It was a huge trade for a lot of our premium students and members. Okay, you can check out the Discord. You can see all the testimonials. You know, it's right there in front of everyone's face. It was an unbelievable call. I did not expect this to happen though. But once I saw this big candle, I said, maybe we'll get 1 or 2 more little ones, little baby candles. 4%, 5% move on Rivian is like 100% on a contract. You know, maybe 200% on a contract. So I just thought we maybe stop here, maybe then bounce back to 90. No, we saw another big 6, 7, 8% move drawdown. And then we've seen a huge recovery from there and a slow build up. And guess what? From a bull side perspective, if you bought in here on that dip, where are you going to target to sell that bull side dip, right? Where are you going to target? Where did the selling start, team? The selling started here, team, 92 to 90 zones. That's where the block selling started. So guess what? If bulls bring it all the way back to 90, that's probably a good place to take a bearish position, right? Now, if we break through 90, 92 and rip to 93, 94, 95, you'd probably say, okay, now we're bullish. This may see 100, right? So it's all about perspectives and the charts. The first round of profit taking will be around $90 to $92, or maybe that's where shorts will re-enter for another downside move to 80s, right? You don't know. But that's how I look at it. If you saw, look, it tried to break 90 on Friday and got full rejected, and it dropped about 3% since that, right? So you have to play the charts. So that's how I sort of look at from like identifying pre-breakout patterns, option contracts, okay? So now let's talk through option contracts. A lot of questions from my server alone. I don't know about the folks who are following me from Webull, StockTwits, other servers, and you're joining for sort of a guest attendance today. I don't know if you guys are interested in learning options, but I'm going to walk through options for about 9 to 12 minutes here, okay? And I'm not an options pro by any means. I trade options when there's a lot of volatility, specifically in indexes or large caps. That's typically when I trade my options. And I play a couple lotto long-term options here and there in small cap land, but particularly in large caps and indexes is where I like to dabble, okay? And so how I want to talk through options is basically how I want to trade, okay? So I'm going to break this down in 2 separate facets, okay, for the options contracts. For all those people who have like, I don't even know what a call is, I don't know what a buy is, and keep it super simple. A call is you have the right to buy those shares at that particular given price and expiration, right? So if you're buying a $1 call that expires this Friday, right, and the stock's at 90 cents, you have the right then on Friday to buy that stock at $1, right? Most people trade calls and puts, right? A put is the same thing, but to sell, right? So it's a particular set of contracts, right, to sell. But most people play options on the premiums. They buy and sell the spreads of premiums. And what I mean by that is the shorter expiration, weekly expiration or monthly expiration or yearly expiration, the shorter the expiration on your buying those contracts or selling those contracts, the higher the volatility, okay? What I mean by that is if you were to buy QQQ puts, right? Perfect example, right? Let's say we go to the daily chart on the day that the QQQ went down with the Fed announcement, Fed minutes, right? Let's go to the daily chart. I think we saw right here, the 3% drawdown right here, right? That was on the 5th. That was 4 days ago. Excuse me. Oh, man, geez. Right, so this drawdown, if you were to play intraday, right, same day expiration, those puts actually ran over 3,300%. Yes, 3,300% they ran. Because any little 0.05, 0.10% move intraday on a contract on an index is like a 20, 30% move on the contract's premiums itself, right? If you were to buy those QQQ puts, maybe you bought like this, the QQQ's at 394. Maybe you bought 394 expiration Friday. That would be down, those would be up probably 2, 3, 4, 500%, right? Not 3,000% because the expiration's a little bit longer, right? But now if you were to buy those 394 puts on next month expiration, you might be up 100 to 200% on those, right? Maybe even 50 to 75%, right? So now you're going wider. The larger the expiration, the less percentage gain you're going to make. And therefore, the longer the expiration, the less potential risk you have, right? So for me, when I'm playing, and I feel it, this comes back to price action. If you feel the stock's like, oh my God, I think it's ripping. Look at this thing. There's so much buying. There's so much buying. You can quickly trade a weekly call expiration. Maybe it's higher than the stock itself, but those are typically quick scalps, in and out potential plays. Now, if you're going to, for example, right, coin. I want to go back to coin. Why did I take March 300 calls? We're way out of the money on 300. But if this stock were to get a 5 or 7% green day or 10% green day, those calls would be up 20, 30, 40% potentially, maybe even 50%, maybe even 100%, right? But if you were to add the weekly calls on that day, those could be up 1,000%, right? But guess what? You can lose that potential investment if you were to buy the same week. Those could lose 99% of those premium within seconds or minutes. So that's why buying longer term expiration for me is less risk. And I never use any type of size for me personally on options. I'm very small unless it's like the Fed day the other day where I feel 90% of the time on my trade thesis, this thing's going to get smoked today. Then I can use some size to the downside or size to the upside, right? Wherever it may be. Tesla's ripping, multi-day, we can potentially take a couple weeks out. So the longer the expiration, the less potential gains, but usually the safer the risk. You can maybe only lose 20, 30% on your contracts, maybe 50%, but you probably won't lose 90% from like 2 or 3 months out if you're buying sort of in the money, out of the money, long-term expiration. Short-term expiration, you could wake up down 75% like very quickly. So you try to stay away from those with any type of size at all. Those are typically more lotto plays for me. But why did I alert coin? I took a position myself in my IRA, $300 March 18th coin calls. I have no clue if this trade's going to work out. No clue. Why did I try those calls? Well, let me tell you. Let's look at the daily chart for coin. 368's the high. 300, some more resistance there. That's where it broke down. It actually broke out past 300. Where do we see support on coin? If you look at coin all the way back from when it IPO'd, 223, this line all the way through 225 has been the support, right? We've seen the support for like a full year and a half now at 225. So I got an alert on my phone. I got an alert on my monitor saying coin's back at 225. So what do you think I did? I bought way out of the money calls 2 months out, which enables me. I get time. Now, I don't know if Bitcoin crashes 10, 15, 20%. Does coin drop another 10% and I stop out, for 40% loss on my coin calls? Sure, could happen. Could happen tomorrow. Could happen this week. No idea. But from a technical perspective, we played this last time in the 220s, 230s range, and it ran to 368, right? That's like a 30% move. So things like to repeat themselves. History tends to repeat themselves sometimes, whether that's up or down in trading, or whether that's up or down in investing, right? It's back at the same levels where the big buying started. So, right, whether that was fund buying, retail buying, whether that was Bitcoin hitting the lows and ripping, right? It's all sort of correlated, right? Sometimes, right? So when I see this area bounce heavy, and now we're back in this area, I'm going to take a longer approach because it may take a couple days or a week to maybe break back out to 275 or 250 first, right? 250, then 275. So I alerted a long potential swing around 225, target 250, 275, target 300 your grand slam. If it breaks 300, maybe you want to target 350. That would be my levels for a 10, 20, 30, 40% move on the stock. Now, from an option side of thing, depending on when that pop may be, if it ever gets that pop, it may consolidate, and then dump below all-time lows, which is 208. So if it breaks below 215, 210, 208, I'm bearish. I'm going to take my loss because to me that shows this name's going to potentially go lower. We could see 180s, 190s, 170, right? So if it holds this frame in here, this is called multi-sort of year consolidation, multi-week, multi-month consolidation, right? I took calls, probably better entry than all the calls in here, right? Because as time goes on, the calls lose value, right? From a decay model, each day goes on, those contracts are less. Those premium contracts are less, right? So every day goes on. If you bought them here, you have less. You have less. Plus the stock's going down there, right? So I bought them in here for March. So that would be all the way out that would be all the way here. So by this day, where is this stock going to be? Now, I'm not betting the stock is going to hit 300, guys. What I'm betting on with those 300 calls is I am buying, anticipating potential upside from that given level of point. 300 gives me that upside because if the stock rips 2%, then 3%, then 4%, then 6%, I can sell, and those 300 calls up here, the 300 calls, will be worth more than if you were to buy 230 calls down here. Your 230 calls might be worth like 30, 40, 50%. Those 300 might be worth like 200, 300, 400% because you're buying out of the money calls, right? If you guys all recall that meme craze last year and people made millions on millions, they're buying like 20, 30% out of money calls. And the stock was so volatile, it was popping 10, 20% a day. People were making thousands of percentages on the calls, right? That's sort of the upside there, right? That was like a crazy meme, like rocket ship. I don't even know. Throw a stupid emoji out there. We're going to the moon, whatever it was. That was craziness. People were making millions on the calls. And that's how it happened, right? Amongst a zillion other things. But from a call and options perspective, right, from how we're teaching this here, That is, where do you want to enter? I want to enter. Now, that's why I also alerted a long swing trade, because this area, double bottom, triple bottom, quadruple bottom, 5 times bottom, 6 times bottom from almost back to 2020, from that post-IPO low, right? So that's where there's buying pressure in here. I'm a trader. I look at the charts. I don't just buy because it's down 1% today. I don't buy because it's up 10%. I buy where the charts align for me. For me. As I said in the beginning of the session, I want the best possible entry, the best possible exit on Wall Street or amongst any other traders who I'm competing against. That is how I stay focused, positive, and disciplined in any type of environment. Bear market, bull market, right? I want the best entry, and I go back to charts because charts cannot lie to my face. It's a chart, right? There could be a short report. There could be fundamental analysis. There could be missing earnings. There could be insider selling. There could be a zillion other things about this stock. But the chart shows me and tells me everything that I need to know, okay? So we have this here, right? And that comes down the price action. The price action was strong here. So I took a long swing trade, right? And that's why I gave those targets. Will they hit? I don't know, as I mentioned, right? But I would stop this swing trade if it probably breaks the 220 plane or 218 plane, because then I know you potentially go lower down to 200, 208, right? So I'm going to risk off of this 225 zone, 228, which is when I bought the calls. Actually, no, sorry. I bought the calls around 238 right before I was a day early. I bought the calls on this dip here on the 5th. Then I actually got another 2% drawdown here, but it bounced nicely. Then it bit down another 2% and it bounced nicely on Friday, right from the bottom. So now we're seeing potential, right, support in here. 230 seems to be some buying pressure. I think I got these around 237, 240 zones. So I'm not too out of the money. I'm probably about 2% out of the money now on sort of my entry, on my entry, not on the actual 300 calls, right, but out of my entry. But I'm fine. I'm content. I'm down 30% on those. In my IRA, I put about $9 grand in, so I'm down $3,000 on it. But I have 2 months for this stock to potentially make a move to the upside and go profitable on those calls, right? Now, I could lose 40, 50% in the coming week if Bitcoin decides to take a dump or if crypto decides to take a dump. But then yet again, coin makes their money on volatility. They make their money buying and selling spreads, right? When retail investors are buying and selling in the application, that's when they make their money off the fees. So actually, volatility in crypto is good for them. They're making a ton of money from buying and selling. So I think earnings could potentially even be higher than what they're anticipating if the volatility stays like a strong year in crypto. So I'm very bullish at this level. I like the long-term share idea. It's probably the safest bet. But for me, this name's so volatile, I don't like necessarily having such a safe bet on coin. It's just so volatile. It rips 10, 20% a day sometimes. I mean, things crazy for like a $50, $60 billion company. So I'd rather just risk my money, what's in the premiums. The max I can lose on this trade is $9,000, which is $9,000 in my IRA. That's the max I can lose on this trade. If you bought shares, the max you can lose is sort of unlimited unless you go to zero, right? So I don't know, right? So that's why that's also why sometimes I take options, right? Because the max exposure I have is what I'm betting, whether that's a call or a put. Now, if you're taking puts, you're anticipating a move down, right? We go back to Moderna daily chart. At 350, we have a major selling point, major double top. You'd buy the 350 or you buy maybe 300 puts a couple weeks out, and then we see the move down. Those contracts print 100, 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000%, right? Depending on how tight your expiration is. You'll see a lot of my alerts on Monday. Sometimes it'll be like a quick option scalp. If you see strong or bearish price action on Monday, typically you see that price action stays the same the whole week because large money's playing that upside or downside, right? I see a major sell candle on Shopify the other day. What happened? I alert 1,200 puts on the bottom of this candle. We're at 1,230. I alerted 1,200 puts that closed on Friday. What happened the next 3 days? I see this bearish price action hitting scan. Hasn't dropped 10% in like 3 years. Stock's up 3,000% on the last 5 years. I see major selling from a high multiple, high growth tech name in Shopify. I see the block selling hitting tape. I alert 1,200 puts out of the money that expire Friday. What happens? Another 2%, another 2%, another 2%. That's now 6%. On Shopify contracts, I think that was like 300, 400, 500% gains on the downside there in the next 3 days, right? So it's all comes back down to our biggest thing that we covered today's session. Price action, price action, price action. Whether that's up or down. This candle is larger selling than all the other candles, but there's not a single green candle last week on this name. It didn't have huge dip buying and ripped back up. It just sold, 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 and sold to new lows. Now what happens next week? I have no clue. We're now hitting a support close. I think 1,050 might be a support threshold. $1,000. I think it might hit the 1,000. It's slowly looking like it. Slowly and steady. If it hits 1,000, then I probably will take a bullish stance or maybe a scalp back to 1,100. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense, right? It's all about charting. Then we got a triple, quadruple bottom at 1,000 in here. That would be my first line of big support. But I think they could bring this puppy down to 1,050. So, and that's another 3 to 5% move. So anticipating where a stock ticker contract is going gives you the upper hand in the stock market. Whether that is an index, whether that is an equity, whether that is a small cap. If you are predicting a move, that's the best we can do as traders. We're predicting a move up or predicting a move down. And that is strictly how I trade intraday, swing, long-term, as well as an investing mindset. I try and predict trends, predict moves before they happen. Sometimes we have magical 500% movers. Sometimes I'm wrong on my trade thesis. If I'm right 60, 70% of the time, I'm always winning. That's how I look at it. I'm not always going to be right. No trader is always right. The Big Short, no trader is always right. They have their big wins and they have their big losses. We've seen it, right? Elon Musk has had some big wins. Kathy Woods has had some big wins. She's had some huge losses. Not everyone can always be right. And that's the nature of Wall Street. That's the nature of trading. That's the nature of the markets. Okay? You just have to try and win more than you lose. So that's the option stuff. I hope the options is sort of helpful. The shorter the expiration, the more percentage you could gain, the higher the risk. The longer the expiration, the less risk out of the money, in the money, you may have on that particular option, right? But you're predicting a longer term trend or shift, right? Right? So that's, hopefully that's helpful. We're now at 6 o'clock. And then I'm going to do Q&A. We went live at 5. Whew. I sped through that presentation. We're now on to our Q&A part. Sort of topic number 6. Let me grab some water here, and we're going to do about 20 minutes or so, 23 minutes or so of Q&A. So the questions, please, guys, are going to come on the YouTube comment section. I see about 180 plus folks dialed in. The questions, I will try to answer every question as best as possible. Obviously, my own thoughts and opinion. And some of them I may not know the answer to, and I'm going to say, hey, I don't know the answer. I'm going to move on. And I'll take a note here on my side. I have a pen and paper. So I'll sort of take that note, and maybe we could do another Q&A session. I try to do these about once every 3 or 4 weeks. So you start shooting some questions. Try and do 1 or 2 thorough questions a person, max. I really don't need 5 questions from a user. Be respectful of your peers here. There's a lot of folks who probably want to ask questions, so please just ask a couple of your strong questions. And if there are questions about particular ticker names, I try to stay away from those guys. It takes too long to pull up the chart and sort of identify price action, but use what I just taught you, use what I just coached, and go then check your own, and maybe you might be able to answer some of your own questions, guys. So let's take note on that, and we'll start with some questions here now. If you're jumping off, thank you so much for joining the section. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Please share with friends and family. I try and help coach, teach as many new traders, as many new folks about investing, trading, fundamental, technical analysis. I try and help as many folks as I possibly can, because this is how I was taught. This is how I learned from so many people. There's so much great content, with in this digital world we have now. You can really learn so much just sitting by yourself, reading, learning from others. And that's obviously why I made my Discord channel. So definitely go follow me on Discord, follow me on StockTwits, follow me on Webull, follow me on YouTube. Tons of great content out there, guys. I'm not the only one doing this, but I try to be the most passionate, conservative, transparent trader there is out there. So do follow me on channels, and I really appreciate you guys coming on. Hit the like button. You can subscribe to my premium Discord in the chat. My tech team will write and drop the link right now in the channel. And let's go through some Q&A. I appreciate it, guys. Awesome. So let's see. Okay, here we go. First question. Shoot, guys, shoot. Giovanni, will Amazon bounce? Giovanni Mustache, will Amazon bounce? I'm sorry if I pronounce your names wrong. Will Amazon bounce? What are your thoughts? Amazon's at a particular, I don't want to look up the chart, but Amazon's pretty close to I think 4, 5, 6x lows on a daily chart. Could bounce. I think there was a couple of analysts that said this is the year of Amazon of 2022. They're going to have their big breakout year. I don't know. Obviously, that's from an analyst perspective. It's sort of Amazon's had a tight consolidation for really the last 2 years or so. It was kind of what I called dead money last year. It could break out or it could break down. So I'd keep an eye on those trends. I'd keep an eye on just what I talked through price action, keep an eye on the daily, weekly chart. If it breaks below certain points, if it breaks above certain points, that's how I'd potentially play the Amazon. I won't be playing with shares. I'd probably be playing it on the call side or put side, vice versa. Cool. Thank you for that question. Bitcoin falling below resistance. Bitcoin's already down, I think, 20% on the year, and it's only day 9 on the year. So definitely, keep an eye. I don't know where the bottoms are there. The key break was 42,315, and it broke that today from an intraday perspective. So, if we can see that potentially make support levels, Bitcoin may, finally get out of that downtrend. How do you choose the best option strike, Abdullah? That's a really good question. I talked through that on the lesson. How do you choose the best option strike? If you feel the price action super bullish, bearish, and you potentially think it's going to be more volatile in the direction that your trade thesis shows up or down, you may want to try the weeklies, right? You may want to try the weeklies, but super low risk because you can lose 90% waking up the next day if it goes the wrong way. If you think, okay, you're pretty confident, maybe you go a month or 2 months out, and if it goes the wrong way the next day, maybe you're down 10, 20, 30% on that contract, and you can always sell for a loss and get some of your money back, or vice versa. You could be up 10, 20, 30%. Similarly, how I just played the hood in DraftKings for all the premium members, how I played it Thursday to Friday. Hood popped 6% out of the gates. I sold my contracts for 28%. Right? On the monthly out. That's 28% in one day on my IRA. It's tax-free money. 28% overnight on $5,000. I'll take it. Moving on. 1,500 gains. Check mark. Moving on. DraftKings. Month out expiration. I bought the 27 calls, 26 calls, whatever the heck it was. I forgot the trade. I can go look at back in the Discord. And DraftKings opens up 6, 7, 8%. Squeeze out. I sold the top candle. I made about 50, 60% on that on 5K. Boom. Made another 25, 3K. Now I'm up, 34, 4K. In the first 2 minutes of market open session, I'm done on my IRA. Now my IRA is up 5, 6% on the day. Check mark, moving on, right? So that's how I predicted the trend to continue because I saw major buying the day before, okay? So that's how I particularly look at how you play the option side. Hopefully that's helpful, Abdullah. Giovanni, we went through that. Digital, thoughts on selling calls for long-term hurts or leverage any downside. I'm not a big hedger. I try and play downside risks. I try and play just the trends, so I don't really hedge too much. In a super volatile environment, I like to hedge, but I don't see the indexes getting super volatile until maybe February, March. We've seen just downtrend already. So that's helpful. What is level 2 and what's the significance? Level 2, I really look at its significance more so in small caps. If there's some big blocks hitting the tape at ask or big blocks hitting the buy at ask. For small caps, you could potentially see, okay, comes back to what did I teach you earlier in the session? Price action. If you're seeing major buying take place in a certain area of that ticker, we know there's a lot of buyers that want in there. Vice versa, there's a lot of selling on a particular level. We know that it potentially wants lower. So level 2 can help you where the sellers are, where the buyers are. It gives you just a little bit of insight of sort of on a high volume name where things are being bought and sold. So level 2 I use more so in small caps. For large caps, I try and just use the candles because it's my level 2 at least. In particular, brokerages are sort of not as significant as it would be for small caps. Stephen H279, you mentioned stocks hitting scanner a lot. How do you configure a scanner? There's a couple different scanners. If you're not ready to invest money in a scanner, then just use FinViz. You could use Webull Top Gainers. What else can you use? I think Benzinga has like a pre-market thing. I would just use like those 3 for free. If you want to use a paid scanner, I would highly recommend looking at the Trade Ideas. Trade Ideas has a pretty good premium scanner, but it's pretty expensive. I think it's like $1,000, $2,000 a year. But it gives you like everything top notch. You can customize it. And there's tons of pre-built integrations on the scanner already, whether it's large caps, breakdown scans, large cap washouts, small cap unusual volumes. There's a ton of cool stuff on there. Highly recommend looking Trade Ideas. I think they also had like some type of, obviously I'm not marketing for them, but I think they had some type of, not promotion or, I think they had a promotion going on where they were doing some type of sale or free 7 days. Check it out. So definitely maybe TradeIdeas.com. I think I would check out that if you're looking for like a premium scanner. Otherwise, FinViz, Webull Top Gainers, volume scanners, those could all be just kind of scanners you can use if you're just trying to getting your feet wet. No problem, Chris Alley. Abjadit, confused about volume. Does decreasing price? Decreasing volume is not necessarily a bad thing, but if it is a bad thing if it's all selling decreasing volume, because then it takes more buying volume to get back up. That's Abhijit. I apologize if I pronounce your name wrong. So that's how I'd answer that question. If the volume's decreasing, it's never a good sign. You always want to have liquidity in a stock or liquidity in an options play, right? That's how you could potentially take big losses on a swing trade, or right, if the liquidity is starting to dry up. No problem, Jeremy. Kevin B, what are the main indicators using on the chart and what time frames do you trade? No, so I don't trade 1 to 2 minute charts. I've said this in previous videos. I love to trade 5 minutes. 5 minutes gives me the strongest sort of perspective on a stock. Because for me, 1 minute can be like a huge buy or huge sell, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes can be accumulation on the sell or buy side. So like I like to see things in a 5 minute perspective, sometimes 10 or 15 when it's like a bigger intraday or bigger swing picture. From intraday, I really just hone in on 5 minutes. That's sort of my bread and butter spot. Every trader's different. They do 1 minute, 3 minutes. 5 minutes for me is like my bread and butter. That's where I can really start to get a strong understanding where a stock may go up or down. Hopefully that's helpful, Kevin B. Abdul, yup. A-Rod Dree 9214. Thanks on the thoughts on crypto 2223. Thank you, Sputting Community. I give my thoughts on crypto, guys. I think 2022 to 2023 for crypto is going to be the explosion or fire sale year. I don't see I don't see just sideways action all year, the next year or two. I think it's going to be the big thing, and regulation helps. And maybe they sort of embrace it and it just breaks out and we see crypto being sort of fully adopted, or we see some big time struggles and a lot of sort of the crypto altcoins just take a major dump, and maybe there's like a couple super solid 5, 10, 15, 20 coins that hold up. I don't see it just in the middle there and continuing where it is now. I see a major upside or a big downside move. And that's how I'm going to continue to treat crypto. If there's fire sale, block sales, I'm going to trade it just how I trade it. I'm all cash in my crypto accounts. I have a very small percentage of my total net wealth in crypto. Very small, less than 10% is in my crypto. So and I'll trade it if there's up to the upside, and I'll trade it if there's downside. So those are my thoughts on crypto. I know it doesn't really help, but I don't think it's a year of sideways action. I think it's up or down, big moves too. John, I don't know what love is. Caught my eye what you see on this ticker if you got time at the end. Yeah, I'm not going to talk to this particular ticker, John. Edward Coles, can you discuss your actual buy and sell strategy if you're going to buy big size like 30K shares, use limit? I always do limit, especially in small caps. Large caps, I get filled quite away because I'm not, even if I go in with size on a large cap, you're going to get whatever the market maker bid gives you. And typically, if it's not millions on millions and millions of dollars, you're going to get just a fine entry in large caps, especially on a volume name, right? For small caps, entry and exit's everything. I typically don't overload first size on a particular entry. I'll go in starter size, and if it breaks down a little bit more and I'm still very confident on the trade thesis, or if it breaks up a little bit more, if it's a short, if it breaks down a little bit more, if I'm bullish or I'm long on it, I'll then buy that dip more. I'll average down a little bit. I always sort of start out starter feelers and I accumulate on dips, and then I just sell major volume and buying pressure. So when that hour, that ticker hour on Friday squeeze like 30% in 20 minutes, that's where I want to be a seller. I want to be selling into strength. And I mentioned that in price action and sort of my market sentiment earlier on this session. So definitely check that out when sort of selling into strength. What's your expectation on how index will move Monday? I don't know. It might open green probably if there's nothing bad happen over the weekend. There's some heavy selling. You might see just sideways to little green this week. Maybe some overreaction. Maybe some people transitioning portfolio. Maybe you'll see a huge rip green. I'm not sure, but definitely some people uncertainty out there. Funds seem uncertain. When there's uncertainty in the markets, typically you see some sideways, and then bigger downside. So I'm definitely on my toes. I'm ready for more downside if there is some to come. And I'm definitely obviously on my toes if people are all loading this dip here and we see some potential new highs. In bear markets, the biggest bounces actually happen in bear markets. So if you're seeing big bounces here, that could be a sign to maybe sell, take some profits, move on, wait for a larger dip. Keep in mind, we are potentially still sitting around those all-time high levels, when we're down 3 to 5%. So it's still a very high level in the markets, right? Let me see. Next question. Nadia, I'm in your new account challenge. Where do you announce your trade, day trade alerts? Yeah, I do most of my trades in day trade alerts. Excuse me, but not only day trade alerts, I'm going to start doing the challenge account entries. And keep in mind, some people are going to be able to follow trades at work. Some people are going to be like, whoa, that was way too fast of a trade. But honestly, in my challenge account for the IRA is going to be posting account challenge 2022 on Discord. That's going to be where I'm going to be posting my challenge. I'm going to try and keep it to like minimum like 1 or 2 day swings, but some might be like a day trade. Like some might be like, entering 5 or 10K in a small cap, making 10, 20%, making a grand or two and moving on. As I mentioned, my goal on that account is to slowly build 50,000 on my IRA to 250,000, then 500K, then 750K, then $1 million. For my IRA, it's tax-free money, right? The government enables you to have IRAs. Why not take advantage of that opportunity and potentially make money on it, but in a smart, consistent way? And that's how I'm potentially approaching this account challenge. I'm not going to be doing reckless things for me. And most of the things I'm going to be doing on that account challenge are going to be a little bit less risk, nothing crazy, unless I feel very confident on the trade thesis. I have no idea how this account challenge will go. I've already turned 50K into 109,000 in 5 weeks of trading on the IRA. So it's a great start. I've already doubled my account within 5 weeks. I want to continue at this rate. I want to slowly build it to 250 goal. 250 goal, I'd be happy if I hit it tomorrow. I'd be happy if I hit it at the end of the year. There's no time limit on this account challenge for me. I'm not going to pressure myself because it is an IRA challenge. It's not just a normal challenge. And you can only put so much money into an IRA each year from that the government allows you to do. So for me, it's going to be a little bit safer, a little bit less risk, tons of less size. Whether that's options, I'm going to be playing a lot of options in the IRA. I don't think I've only played one ticker so far. The rest have been options trades. One was a small cap game, which is a big one, and then the rest were all options. So I will be playing options on that. You can follow along, but that's all going to be done in Account Challenge 2022 section within the Discord. So Nadia, hopefully that helps. You. Next question. Oh my, I'm way behind here. Sorry guys. I'm trying to go as fast as I possibly can. Nadia, there we go. After Nadia. Country Doc, can someone tell me what was Spud market sentiment? Polo Taco, just go to the beginning of the session. You also can watch the video when this ends. That's how you can do it. Thoughts on crypto and the future of it? Joey just answered that about 10 minutes ago. Yes, Shane Miller, great point on contract premium. Josh, what is level 2? We kind of talked through that. Level 2 shows you where buying and selling is taking place within the up 20 or down 20 or down 30, where people are, it's basically where people are bidding and selling. And you could see it, right? So if someone's trying to sell at $1 and the stock's at the stock's at 90 cents, you could see a big sell at $1. So you can potentially say, okay, I want to sell before that seller gets filled. So level 2 helps you in that sense. Or maybe there's a big buyer at $1. The stock's at 105. Okay, I want to buy at 101, right? So I want to get in around where the big buyers are getting in, right? So that's how you use level 2 for me. That's how I use level 2. Okay. Yes, GG. Yes, it's a high risk. The coin calls are high risk. I'm already down 30% on those. I'd like to not lose 100% of that premium $9,000 I put in. But there's a lot of positive analysis going on from the analyst side of things saying it's the biggest call for 2022 and that coin's some of their top favorites. So there's a lot of bullish side, but yes, there's a big risk with crypto, right? If crypto, excuse my language, shits the bed, those calls may not do so hot. So I'm going to be doing, risk aversion here in probably the next week or two. If it doesn't really break out 240, 250, the upside on those calls, I'm probably going to cut them loose for whatever the loss is. Typically how I did it with those Tesla puts, I think 3 weeks ago, I took about 40% hit there on those. So it is what it is, but that's how I'm sort of trading that action. Do you ever trade options on SPY? KL, yep, I trade options on SPY all the time. We have a great options swing trader, great options day trader in the channel Discord. Harmony Trades, you can come see his live. He's very much one of the pros on a day trade perspective. Do you always trade several weeks, month, or on your IRA? Yep, as I mentioned, just talk through the IRA. Spud, use Webull only for trading and opinion between. Webull's where I did my account challenge. Webull's sort of where I started as a trader from like a free account build-up perspective. That's where I gained all my sort of following and credibility. I have over 53,000 followers on Webull. That's sort of just where I started. And that's where I started my 15,000 challenge, and hit over north of 2 million bucks, and then starting another day trade challenging on Webull as well with 100,000. So that's where I started on Webull. I use Fidelity. I've used TradeZero. I've used TOS. I've kind of used everything. I have Fidelity and IRAs. I highly recommend Webull for small caps because you can trade 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. And get pretty decent fills. TradeZero you can do 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that's pretty good. I do like Webull from that aspect. It's a decent platform. I really love the mobile app more than any other platform. I think Robinhood is, in my opinion, just not good. It's actually Robinhood's good for options. It's pretty easy to read and stuff from like a graph perspective, mobile or desktop. Webull's it's better than Webull's options in my opinion. But for me, the Webull platform is just better. And that's what I use. Fidelity, obviously, I use that's like a safe investment. That's where a lot of large money, IRAs, mutual funds are all sort of held through Fidelity or TOS or TDA, whatever it is. So you can, those are some of my safer sort of plays for IRAs and stuff like that. So I use like the big, obviously the big shops for my long-term stuff. So hopefully that helps you there. Some good opportunities there. Lesson on growing accounts. Yeah, Liberty Bell, that's a really good one. I think that question is going to resonate to, the 200 plus folks on the line right now. Lesson on growing accounts. I think the biggest lesson for me when I learned is cutting losses quickly and not hoping. Once I learned not to hope and trade, like hopeful that it's going to recover, hopeful that it's going to bounce, hopeful. If you have to keep saying hope and you're not reading the chart, like it's to me, once I learned that, like, okay, it broke my parameters of a downtrend or it broke my parameters to an uptrend, like, 1, don't be greedy if you're going up. 2, if you're going down, I know it sucks to take a loss. But I became such a stronger trader when I started cutting, right? When I started cutting losses quickly. That's when I became a so much better trader. So when I start cutting losses, that was my big upside in like a couple months in the big picture of things on my small account, was when I started taking really small losses. Once I got over the 25K hump, I started taking small losses and I let my winners run. And when I let my winners run, I moved up the stop loss. Maybe I stop loss out with good profits. I kept doing that. And from a repetitive standpoint, I was nailing consistent trades. But in the beginning, I took big losses as a trader years ago when I would just hold things, right? I would say, okay, here's my thesis. I'm going to buy this as a swing trade or a day trade, not having a stop loss. That is the biggest thing in trading. I've said this to my students and premium members over the years, right, guys? Not having a stop loss in day trading, swing trading, or even sometimes investing, not having a stop loss is like trying to go to your car in the morning to go get a cup of coffee and not being able to use the car because you don't have your car keys, right? So that's really the sort of the analogy I have with stop loss. And I apologize, my dog's making a ton of noise. I just got a little puppy, as some of you probably know. She's a little menace, 5 months old puppy, so she's knocking stuff down right now. She's looking at me like I'm crazy, but I didn't do anything. You did something. You're crazy. What are you doing? So I use the stop loss as sort of the analogy of, you can't trade without having a stop loss. And that stop loss, guys, to finish, answering your question on lesson growing accounts, I think this applies to everyone here on the stream trying to build out a $100 to $1,000 account, $1,000 to $10,000, or $10,000 to $100,000, or $100,000 to $1 million, wherever you are in life, wherever you are in this account of your personal goals, right? It's not impossible, guys. I've done 15 to 2 million. I'm trying to do 100,000 to $1 million. I'm trying to show folks that it is possible with discipline. And all good traders can trade in any market environment. Biggest bull market, biggest bear market, sideways market. I'm trying to teach that you can trade in any market environment. The folks that just can win in those one particular market, guess what? All these people the last year, 90% of them will fail as traders if they can only trade in one market. If they don't know how to short, if they don't know how to buy puts, if they don't know how to make money downside, if they don't know how to make money in a sideways market, if they only play small caps. The reality is those traders might not make it long term. We've seen it in the past couple of decades, the dot-com boom. Trading is now at an all-time high right now, right? So you have to, it's at the end of the day, it's a big competition between yourself and the world. And learning together, learning how to do all this, Learning how to trade in any market environment is the best thing I can possibly teach anyone. And so from a lesson from a small account is really cutting losses and preserving capital and trying to slowly hit base hits. And that's the mentality I take to growing all my accounts on any level: day trade, swing trade, long trade. So I know it's a long-winded answer to that question, but hopefully that helps. If that helps, please do comment. Oh, cool. Scott Mason didn't know that you could find trade ideas. So Scott Mason said you could find trade ideas, the scanner streaming for free on YouTube. There's a 2-minute delay though, so you can't use it for breakouts, but it looks like you can potentially find on YouTube. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that comment. So yeah, guys, looks like trade ideas. You can find that premium scanner on YouTube. Great. What's your thought on these Chinese tickers? I mean, Dana Lee, that's an unbelievable question, Dana. I mean, it's just so hard to say. Like, I love Baba. I love the business model. I mean, they are crushing it as a company. They're down 60% this year. It's one of the highest revenue built companies in the world. And we're down 60% drawdown because of China-US sort of relations, because of China's hostility towards big tech. Like, there's a ton of uncertainty there. So there's just not many buyers. There's a lot of people running for the hills. But, you know, as folks said, I think Warren Buffett's right-hand man, what's his name, Munger or someone else, or I forgot the name of him, is buying, doubled his position in Baba. So there's people trying to take advantage of this fire sale tip. Baba's growing at like a 17 to 20% year-over-year growth, doing billions on billions of revenue, and they're at 2015 lows, 7-year lows they're at. So it could be a great opportunity, you know, if you trust the long term. But you have to be able to stomach more downside if it comes, right? If China gets hostile, if anything happens from a policy standpoint in China, and all those names, Baba, you know, Neo, JD, Baidu, if any of that happens, you know, you have to be ready for stomach volatility, right? So there could be better entries, but yet again, if China policy gets better, these names could rip higher this year, and who knows, they could be the best performing names because they were down so much last year in the biggest bull environment we've seen in 30 years. So we don't know. How I'd play that, I've seen a couple big traders play it, a couple big names, they play it off their premiums. So they buy long calls, buy long puts, and they're playing that as their exposure. They're not actually buying the shares with size or any equity there. They're just playing the upside or downside on the shares. So that could be a good way to play the Chinese names. But a lot of those are really, really oversold. And I mean like severely oversold, not like down 70% off highs like Peloton and DraftKings. Like, these are like revenue growing names that are like very much like trading well below like, you know, 1 or 2 PE. So, you know, they are very much value names, but people are not buying them because of the China situation right now. So I kind of, how I'm going about it is how I just mentioned. So hopefully that helps from the Chinese names. Great question. What else? I'm trying to answer all the questions I can. How do you feel about new COVID variant will affect the market? Sooner home inspection. My opinion, I feel like COVID's already priced in. We've beat a bunch of variants by now. To me, it's showing like big money is sort of looking past the COVID stuff. I mean, unless a huge variant comes along and really crushes numbers like it did when, you know, 2 years ago in March. I'm not going to be too concerned with the COVID variant. I'm more concerned with the Fed and sort of the policy changes that could happen this year and next. That's where I'm more concerned from the market. But COVID variant does you know, present another possible uncertainty in the market, right? So definitely great question. What are your thoughts on PFOF and the brokers? I mean, I don't know what PFO is. Shane Miller, I don't know what PFOF is. I don't know what that means, Shane Miller. If you could rephrase your question. Liberty Bell, user brokers. Okay. Curtis, will you do paid options, 1 hour option class? Yes. So Harmony runs our options class. We've had hundreds of great reviews from the options schooling, as well as just the trading school that we have in Discord Spud Zone server. I highly recommend DMing at Harmony Trades in the Discord, and he could set you up with a group class or personal class. You could answer all your questions. You could go over charts. You could go over strategies. There's some really good testimonials that we've had, and a lot of folks new trading or just new investors like to learn from him. He can read things very quickly from an intraday perspective on options. He's sort of our options pro in the server. I'm very much of a day trader options as well, but he's way more knowledgeable when it comes to the option side of things. So I highly recommend. I already see Wendy saying paid options from class from Harmony are great. Yep. So Wendy, great point. I appreciate that nice comment. Yep. So you can, as Wendy just said, you can DM Harmony. Harmony runs our options school. Great. Nadia, great. Kevin B, thanks for answering these questions. What are your advice becoming consistently profit? Kevin, I sort of answered those. Cutting losses fast from a stop loss perspective, locking gains, not being greedy, base hits. Those would be all things that I'd look to. Growing, being consistent and profitable. Shannon, don't know the answer to that question. Shannon Rice asked, what platform is best order entry for fill options? I'd ask some of the option gurus in the channel for that question. I don't know the best platform for options. Apologize. I'll definitely look that up, though. Do you use stop losses on options? I 100 million zillion % use stop losses on options for the weeklies. If I enter an option contract, it could drop 30% in the coming minute or minutes later, an hour. So I try to use about, if I go in the small size, I'll try to use like a 20% stop loss if it's super volatile. If it's not as much volatile, I'll try to use like a 10 or 15% stop loss. Couple months out, if I'm buying, I'm not putting it necessarily a stop loss because I'm buying so far out in expiration that I'm not going to use really a stop loss in that point. I'll just decipher when I want to buy or sell it. And typically being down a lot would be like 40, 50, 60% if you're buying multiple months out of on the expiration. So that's how I typically play the longer swing options. But weekly, you have to use a stop loss. I have to use a stop loss because he goes 100% in minutes. So, you have to keep it really tight, really, really, really tight. Thanks, Bud. Cool. Okay. What are your thoughts on advisors like Motley Fool, etc., and other platforms? All great platforms. I'll never disregard or talk poorly on any sort of research or investment shop that do a ton of analysis and fundamental analysis, technical analysis, whether that's a hedge fund, a research shop, or anyone. They all work really hard at their jobs and they come up with a trade thesis depending on a particular sector or industry or topic. So I'll never talk poorly on any because it's truly someone's hard work and dedication that that's the stance they're taking on a particular position or a particular trend or a particular sector or a particular market flow. So I think they're always helpful. I love to read both sides, whether it's a short report on a stock or whether it's a crazy bullish call from an analyst. So I like to read both. As I mentioned, right, I'm a trader. I'm going to ride the waves down. I'm going to ride the waves up to the moon, and I'm going to ride the panic selling to the ground. So I'm going to trade both ways, and that's how I like to make money, and especially in this volatile market, I think we're going to see this year. So I have no opinion on some of those Motley Fool, etc. Looks like we kind of hit all the questions. Wow, whew, tiring. Sorry, we're a little 7 minutes over time here, guys. I really think everyone is. I know it's a long time, but I'm already getting tons of DMs on how positive this session was. If you are not subscribed to the Spud Zone Discord, check us out. It is Discord. It's spudzone.discord.gg. Or you can, you can post it from our tech team. Tech team, if you guys are on, if you guys just post the link one more time at the bottom of the comments, appreciate it. So tech team will post the bottom comments. If you want to join the server, totally fine and great. If not, you can always view these sessions. I do this for free. A lot more is premium though. In the premium channels, of course, my students and my paid students come first. I'm here to coach and teach as many as I possibly can on sort of my strategies and what has helped enable me to sort of really help my financial future and sort of help obviously my families and keep me goal oriented. And so I love to learn. I love to create great communities of knowledge and content. That's why I made the Discord server, so we could get so many great minds and think sort of like likelihood of folks communicating content, etc. all in the server. So we're trying to keep all the noise out, like all the other servers that might be free. There's a lot of sort of spamming and trolling and a lot of nonsense that takes place. We try and keep it super focused for serious people only. So if you're just getting started, not very much serious about learning or not really serious about making money, it's probably not the best spot for you. Maybe go to some of the free Discords. But if you're really serious and want to learn a lot, want to see what happens, want to be disciplined, want to be consistent, it might be a great place for you to sort of learn some things. So highly recommend checking us out. Discord. You can follow me on StockTwits at SpudZoneOfficial. Follow me on Webull at SpudZoneOfficial. Follow me here at SpudZoneOfficial on YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope the session was helpful. Please give me feedback on the comments. Please give me feedback in the Discord or wherever social channel you came from. Drop a pin, drop a comment. I want to hear the feedback, whether it was positive, whether I could have done better on this, could have done better on that. All your feedback really helps for future sessions, and I hope this was a good use of time for many of the folks dialing into the call today. Please drop a comment if you love the session in the comments or on Discord. I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for your time. As I mentioned, I don't have to do this for an hour and a half, so just here to help you guys and hopefully here to help you guys learn as much as you possibly can. Going to be a fun year. Excited for 2022, guys. Let's continue to crush it. There's been some great calls already. Let's stay focused. Let's stay confident. And let's hit our goals this year, guys. So love it. Thanks for dialing in. And I will see you guys all bright and early tomorrow. Thanks, Tech Team, for supporting the link there. Link is now pinned on the bottom of the YouTube comments. Thanks for hundreds of you joining live and the thousands of you that will watch this in the coming hours. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. Have a lovely night. I'd say let's go Giants football, but we are just terrible and there's no playoffs for us. So I guess, let's go. Our Tech Teams are big Cowboys fans, so let's go Cowboys, I guess. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks so much for the content. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.